Giddy up, guys. Thanks so much for tuning into WagerWise Network. I'm Cowboy, back with another First and Goal. We're on to week 12 in college football. Holy moly, looking good on the season, guys. But if you want to know how we did last week, you don't know how we're doing on the season, go ahead and watch the review video. You can see it at, I think it's pinned at the top of the page. If it's not pinned, you'll have to just Google or search review in the YouTube. So, but regardless, hey, guys, we don't got time to screw around, man. We're heading up to Buffalo, New York, where the Buffalo Bulls are hosting the Ball State Cardinals November 12th, 4 p.m. on CBS Sports Net. Currently, Buffalo is laying 6.5, over-unders at 53.5. And, you know, this action for me, guys, I'm telling you right now, I wish it was back like the old days. You used to be able to just plug and play the overs and roll. And you tease the favorite and over and you go. A little bit different scenario here. You've got a Ball State team who looked halfway decent last week. A Buffalo Bulls team coming off a bye, 5-4 in the season, 3-2 in conference. Ball State 3-6. 2-3. How do you want to cap this game? Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. First thing, narrative on this situation. Buffalo with a win here makes himself bowl eligible. This team, very Jekyll and Hyde this season. Has had some decent performances, but when they faced upper tier opponents, haven't really looked the spot. They did beat number 23 Northern Illinois by 3, and then they lost though by margin to UConn and Missouri, the other two bowl eligible teams, and they beat Toledo, who's the other bowl eligible team, and lost to Western Michigan by 7. So really a hard team to cap, and the reason being is this Buffalo team doesn't really do anything well. There's a couple. Let me phrase that. They don't. Then the intangibles that they do well aren't really measurable as to how you'd want to correlate out. They don't get a lot of penalties per play. 9th in the nation, 0.3 yards penalties per play. So they run a lot of plays, don't necessarily get a lot of penalties. That's good enough for 14th in the nation for penalties per game. So a very well disciplined team. Teams opposing them give up a lot of penalties. What's that tell you? Tells you that they're getting a decent pass rush. It's something that Buffalo's done for many years. The pass rush so far this season, it's not related to a sack percentage. 117th in the nation. So you're seeing a lot of holds on the offensive line, and it's more in the running game. They're decent against the rushing defense, I guess. I wouldn't say they're great. 167 yards per game. Passing defense, not great either. 116. Offensively, they're more of a running team. 37 rushes per game, good enough for 47th in the nation. Really no passing offense, what it is. But as always, we like to dive into the box scores, see why these numbers are where they're at. Take a look at last week, for example, against Akron. They won 41-30, or 2 weeks ago, on the second. They were up 38-7 going the fourth quarter. And at that point, Akron offense has been completely inept. Fourth quarter comes in, they take the governor off. They say, hey, brakes are off. We've got this thing wrapped up. And Akron goes and puts up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, make the score a little closer than it indicated. Now Akron's not a good team. 1-4 in conference, 2-7. They're not Kent State, but they're still not anything great by any means. So, you take that into account that some of these numbers are coming in a little padded. You also played a Missouri team early in the season who was still humming. You played a UConn team who essentially ran all over you. UConn's got a good rushing team. And, other than that, the concern is Ohio and Western Michigan did drop 47 and 48 on you. So you go against a Ball State team. We talked about Ball State a little bit in retrogards. A terrible defense, but the defense stepped up last week. I'm still led to believe this Ball State defense isn't as good as they played last week. I think they played a great game last week. It was a nationally televised game. Crowd was up. Weather was a little shiny. They still lost the game 27-21 to Miami of Ohio. And we had concerns about Miami of Ohio's offense in the first place. Prior to that, we talked about their wins. Kent State 37-35, not a very good win. Win over FCS 42-34, Missouri State, and then a win over Northern Illinois. I'll be honest, Northern Illinois, like I said, Jekyll and Hyde, you don't know which Northern Illinois team is going to show up. Northern Illinois that beat Notre Dame, or Northern Illinois that lost to Ball State. It's one of those things. This is their first road game in 2 weeks, and that they haven't had a road game. The last road game they took on was Vanderbilt, and they performed quite well, 24-14. Like I said, once again, another good defensive performance with all things else kind of not good defense. So how do you want to cap this game? Well, we can pull up the charts and see how these teams performed previously against each other. And I can tell you this right now, Ball State has absolutely owned this series dating back since 2000. I know you didn't want to go that far back. Buffalo's only beat them one time, and that was in 2017. Take a look at 2 years ago. Ball State at home was -6, over under 59.5. Ball State wins 20-3. Buffalo's changed since. Now, Buffalo still isn't that great a program, but I do like the fact that they are playing. If they win, they're in a bowl game. I like that kind of motivation factor. Ball State is playing for their lives, though. Ball State does have to win the next 3 games in order to escape to make a bowl game themselves. How feasible is that? Their schedule isn't as favorable as that. They do have Bowling Green and Ohio left, 2 of the better teams in the MAC. So I'm not saying they're beat up. I'm not saying that that's, not going to happen, but they do have a bye week coming after this. So you could see a kitchen sink game. As I stated, this MACtion stuff for me, guys, really difficult. What I've noticed with Ball State is they don't perform well in the first half. They're closing gaps late. You saw it against Miami of Ohio. They closed the gap in the second half. You did see them pull out the margin on Northern Illinois, but on the road so far, they're pulling out and closing games late. So for me, I think it's the flip side for Buffalo. I took a look at Buffalo, and Buffalo has an ability to get out and get going early, and then they kind of meander around and they let the gap close on them. And so I think with that being said, the look that you'd want to take here, and I'm not at the window with this, guys, and I don't know how convicted I want to be on the window with this. I think the look here would be the 3.5, Buffalo minus 3.5 first half. I think that's the only way I look. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair, and I promised after last week's abysmal performance on over-unders, we're not going to take over-unders. I would love to take the under here, but it's not. No, we're not going that way. I lean that way. I got to have guys in the comments go, hey, what about the under over here? I think the under is the way to play here. And I know it's too bad. It's two bad defenses. So why would you want to go take an under against two bad defenses? I just don't trust either offense, guys. I mean, the offenses just stink. Really. Buffalo, though, for whatever reason, call it an anomaly, an unmeasurable that you can't really put a pin in. Buffalo, for whatever reason, just decides to show up at times when they seem like the game means a little bit more. And as I stated, this game does mean a little bit more. You win here, you're going bowling. You got Eastern Michigan left. You got Kent State left. Are they going to win the conference? Probably not. That's probably out of play. They're 3-2. It's not inconceivable. I mean, those teams do play each other so they can get beat up. None of them control their own fate. They all play within each other. So you could see them come here and end up winning the conference as well. So I think Buffalo has just a little more to play for here. And maybe it's me throwing shade at Ball State. I still don't believe that. I just do not believe in that defense. I think you saw a great performance last week. I think you see the shoe drop on the other foot. I think you see Buffalo be able to score just enough. Now, Buffalo's offensive performances so far this season: 30 points Lafayette, 0 points Missouri, 34 points Massachusetts, 23 Northern Illinois, 3 UConn, 30 Toledo, 41 Western Michigan, 16 Ohio, 41 Akron. So you don't see a lot of consistency with that Buffalo offense. That is the problem. So lo and behold, guys, I always tell you this, $1 million on the line, which direction you want to go. I'm going to say Buffalo first half, minus 3.5 would be the look here. Little quicker video than most weeks, guys. As I'll be honest, this MAC stuff's really got me spinning right now. And I watched a lot of it last week. We're big Conference USA guys around here. I'm not so certain Conference USA, a couple of those upper tier teams wouldn't handle the MAC. I think the MAC quality of football in the MAC has dropped significantly. I really do. Outside of Toledo and maybe Bowling Green, I don't really see a lot of teams that I wouldn't put as a threat to go and make a lot of noise outside of conference. So I think it is a weak conference, and I think you've seen Buffalo outside of conference not perform well either. But Ball State, I think, is still I think they're still just a step below. So let's get it out of this game. Let's get the hell out of here after the first half. Buffalo Bulls, minus 3.5 first half. Liked it? Hate it? Let me know what you're taking in the comments below. Like I said, the numbers here, just the measurables on the numbers, guys, just aren't there on either side of the thing. So you're kind of really pulling on speculation here. I don't have a ticket on this. I'm not interested in betting it, just to lean. But anyways, if you guys take it, I hope you cash. And hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that in between. I'll catch you guys at the window.